Millions of Canadian quarters were made, but only a handful catch the attention of serious collectors. The difference isn't always obvious, and that's exactly why so many valuable coins are accidentally spent every year. Believe it or not, some collectors examine Canadian quarters with magnifying glasses for hours. They're searching for details that most people never notice. Today, you'll discover why these small coins can become the stars of a collection. The story of the 2005 Canada 25-cent Saskatchewan quarter begins in a place where open skies seem endless and the land itself feels like it stretches into eternity. In the heart of Canada, the province of Saskatchewan holds a unique identity shaped by wheat fields, prairie winds, and a deep agricultural heritage that has fed not only a nation but also shaped global food supply history. This is not just another coin issue. It is a small metallic tribute to an entire landscape, a way of capturing the spirit of the prairies in something that fits inside your hand. To understand why this coin exists at all, you have to imagine Canada in the early 2000s. The Royal Canadian Mint was actively exploring ways to make circulation coins more meaningful, more symbolic, and more connected to the provinces they represented. Each quarter became more than just 25 cents. It became a storytelling platform. And in 2005, Saskatchewan was chosen as one of the highlights in this ongoing celebration of provincial identity. At first glance, the coin might seem simple. A standard 25-cent piece, small in size, made for everyday transactions. But when you slow down and really observe it, a different story starts to emerge. The design carries a deliberate message rooted in resilience, nature, and agriculture. It reflects the province's deep connection to wheat farming, a symbol that has defined Saskatchewan for generations. The obverse side of the coin features the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, a design that has appeared on Canadian currency for decades. But even this portrait has its own historical weight. It represents continuity, tradition, and the connection between modern Canada and its constitutional monarchy. Around the portrait, inscriptions mark the monarch's title and the year of issue, anchoring the coin firmly in its time period. But the real heart of this coin lies on the reverse side. Here, the design showcases a stylized representation of wheat stalks, carefully arranged in a way that symbolizes both growth and abundance. Wheat is not just a crop in Saskatchewan. It is the backbone of its economy and a defining feature of its identity. Endless fields of golden grain have shaped the lives of farmers, communities, and entire generations. The coin captures this essence in a simplified but powerful artistic form. The engravings are not overly complex, yet that simplicity is exactly what gives the design its strength. There is something almost poetic about how a small circular piece of metal can reflect the vastness of prairie farmland. It is a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry the largest meanings. When this coin entered circulation in 2005, most people did not think twice about it. It passed through hands in grocery stores, coffee shops, vending machines, and pockets across Canada. For the average person, it was just another quarter. But for collectors, even at that time, provincial quarters like this one were part of a growing interest in modern numismatics. Collectors began to pay attention not just to older rare coins, but also to modern issues that carried unique designs or limited releases. The Saskatchewan quarter became one of those coins that quietly entered collections without much initial fanfare. Its availability was relatively high, which means millions of pieces were minted for circulation. However, within that large production run, subtle variations, mint conditions, and preservation quality began to matter more and more. Coins that remained in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, started to gain attention in collector circles. The difference between a worn coin and a flawless, uncirculated specimen can be significant in numismatics. It is not just about age. It is about condition, rarity in preserved form, and demand among collectors who specialize in modern Canadian coinage. As time passed, interest in themed coin series increased. The Royal Canadian Mint had created several provincial and territorial series that collectively told the story of the nation. The Saskatchewan quarter became part of that broader narrative. It was no longer just about one coin. It was about a complete set representing identity, geography, and history. But here is where the story becomes more interesting. In online spaces, forums, and viral videos, claims started circulating about certain modern coins having extremely high values. Some of these claims exaggerated the worth of common circulation coins, including this Saskatchewan quarter. Numbers like thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars began appearing in sensational content, often without verified auction records to support them. In reality, most 2005 Saskatchewan 25-cent coins remain very close to their face value unless they are in exceptional mint state condition or part of specialized graded collections. Professional grading services evaluate coins based on strict criteria such as luster, strike quality, surface preservation, and eye appeal. Only top-grade specimens achieve premium prices, and even then, the market remains grounded in realistic collector demand. Still, the fascination continues. There is something deeply human about believing that an ordinary object in your possession might hold extraordinary value. It transforms everyday life into a potential treasure hunt. And that is exactly why coins like this continue to capture attention years after their release. To truly appreciate this coin, you also need to understand how modern minting works. The Royal Canadian Mint uses highly advanced techniques to produce billions of coins with consistent precision. Each die is carefully engraved, and each strike is controlled to ensure uniformity. However, even within such precision, slight differences can occur, creating subtle varieties that collectors sometimes seek out. Some collectors look for die errors, off-center strikes, or unusual surface features. These anomalies are not common, but when they do appear, they can increase collector interest significantly. However, it is important to distinguish between genuine mint errors and normal production variations that do not affect value. The Saskatchewan quarter, in its standard form, does not belong to the category of rare error coins. Its importance is more symbolic than financial. It represents a province, a culture, and an agricultural legacy that continues to define a large part of Canada's identity. As we move deeper into this story, it becomes clear that the real value of this coin is not simply measured in dollars. It lies in its meaning, its design intention, and its place within a broader national collection. Coins like this are reminders that currency is not just economic tools, they are also historical artifacts. And yet, the question of value always returns. People want to know what it is worth today, especially in collector markets. While some viral claims suggest extremely high figures, verified numismatic sources do not support such numbers for standard circulated examples of this coin. Exceptional graded specimens might reach modest premiums, but nothing close to exaggerated online claims. This is where understanding coin collecting becomes essential. The market is driven by authenticity, certification, and demand, not speculation. A coin becomes valuable when collectors agree on its rarity and condition, not when internet rumors assign it a dramatic price tag. As we continue this journey in the next part, we will explore how collectors evaluate coins like this in detail, what makes certain specimens stand out from millions of others, and how grading can completely change the perception of a coin's worth. We will also uncover the real market behavior behind modern Canadian quarters and why some coins gain attention while others remain quietly in circulation. The story of this Saskatchewan quarter is far from over. The year is 1989. In the vast and quiet landscapes of Canada, something small is being produced that most people will barely notice at the time, yet it will slowly become a point of curiosity for collectors decades later. It is a simple 25-cent coin, the kind of coin that passes through thousands of hands every single day, slipping into vending machines, parking meters, store counters, and pocket change without anyone stopping to think twice. But this is exactly where the story begins. Because coins are never just metal. They are time capsules. The 1989 25-cent coin was born in an era when Canada was changing in subtle but important ways. The economy was evolving, technology was advancing, and the Royal Canadian Mint was refining its production methods with increasing precision. Every coin struck during this period carries not just monetary value, but also a reflection of industrial progress and national identity. At first glance, the coin looks familiar. A standard circular quarter, small in size, silver-toned, designed for everyday circulation. On the front side, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II appears, calm and formal, as it had for many years on Canadian currency. This portrait is not just decoration. It represents continuity, tradition, and the constitutional framework of Canada's system of governance. Around it, inscriptions mark her title and the year 1989, anchoring the coin firmly in its historical moment. But the reverse side is where things become more interesting. The design features a majestic caribou, standing firmly with its antlers raised. It is a powerful symbol of the northern wilderness, representing strength, endurance, and survival in harsh natural conditions. The caribou is not randomly chosen. It reflects the deep connection between Canada's identity and its wildlife, especially the animals that have long roamed its forests and tundra. This is where the coin starts to feel different from ordinary pocket change. Because when you look at the caribou, you are not just seeing an animal. You are seeing a symbol of resilience, a reminder of the land itself. Cold winters, long distances, and untouched nature all come together in this single image pressed into metal. In 1989, millions of these coins were produced. Most entered circulation immediately. People used them without hesitation. Very few thought about preserving them, and even fewer imagined that decades later, collectors would examine them under magnification, searching for details that were invisible in everyday use. But that is exactly what happened. Over time, coin collecting as a hobby expanded. What once focused mainly on old historical coins began to include modern circulation coins as well. Collectors started paying attention to condition, strike quality, and subtle variations that occur during minting. The 1989 25-cent coin became part of that growing interest in modern numismatics. The majority of these coins are still common today. They are found in circulation, in jars of spare change, and in bank rolls. However, not all coins are equal in the eyes of collectors. Condition changes everything. A coin that has been heavily circulated, scratched, or worn down loses much of its appeal. But a coin that has remained in near-perfect condition, with sharp details and original luster, becomes significantly more desirable. These are the coins that collectors look for, sometimes years after they were minted. And then there are the rare possibilities that always capture attention. Occasionally, during mass production, small minting variations can occur. Slight differences in strike pressure, alignment, or metal flow can create coins that stand out from the standard production run. These are not common, but when they appear, they generate interest among collectors who specialize in error coins and unusual varieties. However, it is important to understand something clearly. The 1989 25-cent coin is not considered a rare coin in general circulation terms. Its value is primarily tied to condition rather than scarcity. Most examples remain close to their face value, especially those that show signs of everyday use. Still, collectors continue to search. Why? Because coin collecting is not just about guaranteed rarity. It is about discovery. It is about the possibility that something overlooked might still exist in perfect condition. It is about checking old collections, inherited jars of coins, or forgotten boxes in storage, hoping to find a piece that stands out from the rest. And sometimes, that hope is enough to keep the search alive. The design of the caribou itself adds another layer of appreciation. It is one of the most recognizable wildlife symbols in Canadian coinage history. Its stance, its detail, and its cultural meaning make it more than just an image. It becomes part of a visual language that connects currency with nature. When you hold this coin, you are holding a representation of the Canadian wilderness in miniature form. A creature that has survived for centuries in some of the harshest environments on Earth, now preserved in metal that fits in the palm of your hand. As the years pass, coins like this slowly transition from everyday money into collectible items. Their meaning changes depending on who is holding them. For some, it is just spare change. For others, it becomes part of a collection that tells a story of history, design, and national identity. And yet, the fascination continues to grow. People still ask the same question when they come across this coin. Could it be worth something special today? The honest answer is that most examples remain common. But in the world of collecting, condition is everything, and curiosity is what drives people to keep looking. That is why coins like the 1989 25 cents continue to appear in conversations, listings, and collections even decades after their release. Because every coin has two values. One is printed on its surface. The other is discovered over time. The story of the 1971 Canadian 25-cent coin begins with an ordinary purchase that could have happened almost anywhere in Canada more than 50 years ago. Someone walks into a neighborhood grocery store, pays for a few everyday items, and receives a handful of change. Among the coins is a single quarter dated 1971. At that moment, it is worth exactly 25 cents, and no one gives it a second thought. It slips into a wallet, falls into a pocket, disappears into a cash register, and begins a journey that will continue for decades. Today, that same coin has become the subject of curiosity among collectors around the world. People search through old coin jars, inherited collections, and forgotten piggy banks hoping to discover a 1971 Canadian quarter that might be more than just spare change. Some have heard stories of rare examples selling for surprising amounts, while others simply enjoy the history hidden inside this small piece of metal. But what is it about this coin that continues to capture attention after more than half a century? To answer that question, we have to travel back to 1971, a time when Canada was experiencing significant social and economic change. Cities were growing, industries were expanding, and millions of Canadians relied on coins every single day for transportation, shopping, and everyday life. The Royal Canadian Mint was producing enormous numbers of circulation coins, each one carefully designed to combine practicality with artistic beauty. The 1971 quarter was never intended to become a collector's treasure. It was created to perform one simple task: serve as money. Yet history has a fascinating way of transforming ordinary objects into remarkable collectibles. As years pass, coins become witnesses to history. Every scratch tells a story. Every mark represents another chapter in the life of the coin. On the obverse, the coin features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This portrait, designed by Arnold Mackin, presents a youthful image of the Queen wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. The portrait is elegant without being overly elaborate, reflecting the style of Canadian coinage during that era. Around the portrait are inscriptions identifying the monarch and emphasizing Canada's constitutional heritage. For millions of Canadians, this image became instantly recognizable. It appeared on countless coins used every day, quietly reminding citizens of the country's traditions and institutions. Yet collectors often spend hours examining this portrait under magnification, searching for tiny differences in strike quality, surface preservation, and minute details that most people never notice. Turning the coin over reveals one of Canada's most iconic coin designs, the magnificent caribou. The caribou has appeared on Canadian quarters for generations and has become one of the country's most beloved coin designs. Standing proudly with its impressive antlers, the animal represents strength, endurance, and the untamed beauty of Canada's northern wilderness. It symbolizes survival in harsh environments, resilience against difficult conditions, and the close relationship between Canadians and nature. The engraving is remarkable considering the coin's small size. Every antler branch, every contour of the body, and every line of the landscape required extraordinary precision from the engravers. Even after decades of circulation, many examples still display enough detail to appreciate the craftsmanship involved in creating the design. When these quarters left the Royal Canadian Mint in 1971, they possessed a brilliant metallic shine known as mint luster. Freshly struck coins reflected light beautifully as microscopic flow lines created during striking scattered light across the surface. Collectors today treasure coins that still retain this original luster because it indicates minimal handling and exceptional preservation. Unfortunately, most 1971 quarters experienced exactly what they were made for. They circulated. They passed from customer to cashier, from child to parent, from bank to business, and back again thousands of times. Each exchange introduced tiny scratches, contact marks, and gradual wear. Over years and eventually decades, the brilliant shine faded, and fine details slowly softened. This is why condition plays such a crucial role in determining collector interest. Two quarters struck on the same day in 1971 can have dramatically different appearances today. One may be heavily worn from decades of circulation, while another might have spent its entire life safely stored in a collection. Although both coins share the same date, collectors may value them very differently, because preservation significantly influences desirability. Professional grading services evaluate coins using internationally recognized standards. Experts inspect every surface, examining strike sharpness, original luster, scratches, contact marks, discoloration, and overall eye appeal. Even the smallest imperfections can influence a coin's assigned grade. The highest graded examples represent only a tiny fraction of surviving coins. These pieces appear almost exactly as they did when they left the mint more than 50 years ago. Their surfaces remain clean, their designs sharp, and their original brilliance largely intact. Beyond condition, collectors also become fascinated by mint errors and unusual varieties. Modern minting involves remarkable precision, yet producing millions of coins inevitably creates occasional mistakes. A die may become damaged, alignment may shift slightly, or another unexpected production issue may occur. These errors are uncommon, but when authenticated, they often attract strong collector interest because they represent something outside normal production. Collectors carefully inspect 1971 quarters looking for doubled lettering, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die chips, rotated dies, and other unusual characteristics. Most coins display none of these features, but the possibility keeps collectors searching through countless ordinary-looking quarters. The excitement lies in the discovery. Imagine opening an old family coin album inherited from a grandparent. Between pages that have remained untouched for decades sits a bright 1971 Canadian quarter. Suddenly, what appeared to be an ordinary coin becomes something worth examining more closely. Questions immediately arise. Has it circulated? Is it an unusually sharp strike? Could it possess an uncommon variety? Might it qualify for professional grading? These questions fuel the passion of coin collecting. Many collectors enjoy the hunt even more than the final answer. Every coin examined offers the possibility of learning something new about history, minting technology, or the subtle differences that distinguish one specimen from another. The metal composition of the 1971 quarter also reflects an interesting period in Canadian coinage. By this time, Canada had transitioned away from silver circulation quarters used in earlier decades. The 1971 issue was produced using nickel, giving the coin durability suitable for everyday commerce while reducing production costs compared to precious metal coinage. This transition marked an important chapter in Canadian monetary history. Earlier generations remembered silver quarters, while younger Canadians grew up using nickel coins. The 1971 quarter therefore represents part of Canada's evolving approach to modern currency. Collectors often appreciate not only individual coins, but entire historical periods. A complete collection of Canadian quarters allows someone to observe changing portraits of the monarch, evolving mint technology, and subtle design modifications across decades. The 1971 issue occupies an important place within that timeline. As interest in coin collecting expanded through magazines, clubs, conventions, and later the internet, awareness of modern Canadian coins increased dramatically. Information became easier to access, encouraging new collectors to learn grading standards, identify varieties, and understand market trends. Still, one question continues appearing more than any other. Is the 1971 Canadian quarter valuable? The answer depends entirely on the specific coin. Most circulated examples remain relatively common and generally carry modest collector premiums, if any, above face value. However, exceptionally preserved uncirculated coins, professionally certified high-grade examples, and authenticated mint errors can attract substantially greater interest from serious collectors. That distinction is extremely important because online rumors often exaggerate the value of ordinary circulation coins. Headlines sometimes claim every old quarter is worth a fortune, creating unrealistic expectations. Experienced numismatists understand that rarity, preservation, authenticity, collector demand, and professional grading all work together to determine actual market value. One beautifully preserved coin may attract significant attention among collectors, while another heavily worn example with the same date may simply remain an interesting historical keepsake. Yet perhaps the greatest value of the 1971 Canadian quarter cannot be measured by money alone. It represents a moment frozen in time. It reminds us of an era before smartphones, before online banking, and before digital payments became part of everyday life. It recalls a Canada where nearly every purchase involved coins changing hands, where children counted quarters to buy treats, where parking meters accepted loose change, and where a single coin quietly traveled across provinces, cities, and generations. More than 50 years later, many of those same quarters are still out there. Some rest in collectors' albums protected from the elements. Others remain hidden in old jars tucked away inside closets and attics. A few may still occasionally appear in circulation, unnoticed among modern coins, waiting for someone curious enough to look at the date. Perhaps that is the true magic of the 1971 Canadian 25-cent coin. It proves that history does not always survive in museums or behind glass displays. Sometimes, history survives in the palm of your hand, disguised as an ordinary quarter that millions of people once overlooked. And for collectors, that possibility, the chance that an everyday coin could reveal an extraordinary story, is what keeps the search alive year after year.